I'm Susan Ng. Welcome back to Parenting Made Easy. My guests today are Pamposh Da, who is founder of Thai, and also Muriel Valerie Guillaume, mother of 3 young boys who are aged 9, 13, and 15. And in the first part, if you were with us, we were talking about living mindfully, living with attention, about how we need to focus more on the present. And when we make choices, we have to make conscious choices and be aware when we're making those choices, rather than making choices we regret later because, hey, you know what, I really wasn't paying attention. We also talked about multitasking and how that seems to be such a part of our lives nowadays. But again, when we multitask, or if we have to, we also need to be aware of what we're doing at all times. And as Pamposh said, we live such scattered lives. We have so many things happening in our lives. And as a mom of 3, Muriel, you spend all your days either dropping off one and picking up another, doing homework with one and trying to calm another one down, and you have 3 boys. So our lives are like that. And Pamposh, you do not 1 but 7 things, and yet you're not alone. All of us, our listeners, we all live lives like that. And as we're talking, I'm sure many are saying, well, that's what I just did all day today. You know, I was running from one meeting to another and then taking the child to school and then meeting the teacher, and then I didn't feel well. And so this is how life is. But Pamposh said something very important right at the beginning, is we need to learn to be focused. And sometimes it's as simple as just focusing on our breathing. We breathe every day. We have to, but we're not focusing, and we take shallow breaths, and we should learn to take deeper breaths. And sometimes when we get mad, people turn to us and say, listen, take a deep breath, step back, start again. So we need to do some of those things in order to be more mindful, and that will help us when we're parenting, so that we become more mindful parents. And the kids, when they feel that we're with them and present in the moment with them, will react perhaps very differently to us. And when they have issues, they will come and talk to us because they know we're going to make time for them. And that's the other 4-letter word, aside from love and calm, which Pamposh says we have to be more of, we need to be more calm, is time. So how do we find time to do everything? Pamposh, you do so many things. Tell us some of the things you do at Thai.
I'm a counselor, so I counsel, I teach Reiki and meditation and mindfulness to adults and children. And I do a bit of personal development coaching as well. So yes, a few different things. I'm also a writer. I write for a magazine in Singapore, and sometimes I write for Indian newspapers and things as well. I think for me, the trick is to be mindful in every moment to what I'm doing then. So while I'm writing, I'm not thinking about my next Reiki workshop. But when I'm doing the Reiki workshop, I'm totally focused on that because I have to bring all of myself to the teaching. In a way, it's easy for me because of the kind of work I do. It really needs my full attention. But I've learned through that makes for excellence, actually, when you give your full attention to the task in hand. And then you switch gears when you're doing something else. But if I try to plan my workshop while I'm talking to you now, I'm going to be neither here nor there. It's just doesn't work so well.
Something's got to give, right?
Yes, exactly.
I like what you said about bringing yourself into what we do.
Yes.
And sometimes we forget.
I think this is also very important with children. Well, you have to be really there as a parent or as a mentor or a teacher, especially if a child is telling you something either that they're excited about or something difficult, that they're facing. You really need to be fully present to that, and the child will pick up on that.
Let's think about it from the child's point of view. How would that help a child in what he or she does?
Okay, as a counselor, one of the first things we learn is something called active listening. If you're not, even with adults, if you're telling me something that may be difficult for you, let's say, I don't mean you personally, but anybody, a client, and I seem to be distracted, they will actually not tell me what's really bothering them, because often it's something personal, it's something difficult. With the child, there's the added complication that the child may be confused about what it is. They may not fully understand it themselves. So they are not going to open up if they feel they are not being listened to. So this is really important, to really be there and to let the child know that you're really there for them. Otherwise, they may not tell you what's really on their mind. until it's, much later. And even when they're excited, you have to share the joys and excitements. That's part of a role of a parent, I think, to really share with their child. So that's what I mean by being fully present.
Has that helped your children, Muriel, for them to be fully present? Because you had a second son who had some issues managing his emotions, and he seems to be better now.
The children, they can feel when you're there or not. It's like an adult as well. Adults are the same, but I think that the children really have this gift because they are simpler than we are. So they have this gift. They can really easily feel if you are there or not. And it helps them when you listen. They feel like they are important to you. And I think that it is something that makes the relationship between you and your children much better and easier to understand, and there is trust. So when the child is centered and when the child can name his emotions or can actually feel that he can share with you, he will do it in a simple manner, and you will be able to just build this trust relationship with the child. I also believe that if a child feels that he's not listened to, or if the child feels that he doesn't have your attention, he will do whatever he can to get it. So better you spend, maybe 5-10 minutes to listen to something, or maybe even half an hour, but then both of you are happy, rather than having the whole day into mayhem because you didn't spend this 5, 10 or half an hour with them.
And that's what you're doing now?
Yes, I think that we're all aware of it. It's just that sometimes you just have to stop ourselves and actually do it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
We talked about being busy, and we're all busy people. And the thing is, we want to do so many things. We want to be present, to be there, to be aware, to be mindful. Somehow life takes over.
Yes.
When life takes over, it becomes really tough because we get so busy. Even we're not mindful about what we are doing.
Yeah,
and so we can't pay attention to our children.
Exactly. We can't expect them to do it if we're not doing it ourselves as well. And I think that it's also the point, right?
And we also want to help our children to be conscious and focused. Now, focus is a word that we've used quite a lot today. Let's turn our attention to the kids to help them to focus. I know you said, Pamposh, that we must always remember to focus on our breathing. What other tools can you share with us or what other strategies you have for kids?
Well, what I do with kids is basically focused on breath. I don't mean that you focus on the breath every moment of the day, obviously, that wouldn't make sense. But you take 5, 10, 15 minutes out of the day just to do that. You could focus on anything. It doesn't have to be breath. It could be sounds. So with children, sometimes we try that. All the different sounds you can hear. How clearly do you hear one sound compared with another? Where is it coming from? What kind of sound is it? That also teaches focus. So anything that trains your mind to focus better. I find that attention on breath or sound is something that's very easy. The breath is always with you. You don't need to buy it or find it or take it somewhere. And it's very quick. The results are very quick. But there are other strategies as well, of course. Some people just relax, get calm and more focused with music, certain kinds of music. And children also very open to music. Usually different from adults' music, but still music. I've learned Tai Chi, and I find Tai Chi also really helps you to focus as well, and in a very natural way, in a very pleasant way. Then some people do it through exercise. So whatever works is fine. For me, the breath is always there, as I said, and very quick. The results are very quick.
And you can do it anywhere.
You can do it anywhere, anytime.
So when you take a few minutes off to do some of the things you've just explained, that then helps the child or even us as parents refocus, to recenter, and then come back to it, and then perhaps we can perform better? At least we're calmer?
With exercise, it just calms you, and maybe that helps you to focus better. But they say that you need at least 20 minutes of exercise for it to have an effect. With any focus, the breath focus is an exercise of focus. So it will really directly teach you to focus. It trains your mind to focus on sound or an image. With children, I do visualizations because they have good imaginations.
Yes.
So we do that as well. That is also an exercise in focus. It's also an exercise in happiness and calmness. I teach them to change their focus from negative to positive very quickly through visualization. So it brings many benefits, and there are a few different techniques you can do.
Right. And so all this in the hope that the child will be able to calm down. And I mean, exams are a reality for all of us, right? Parents too. And for kids who have to take major examinations, this could be one quick way to help them. And I know Muriel and her family have a special way. We'll talk about that later. But this is a quick way for us and our kids to really just stop, as you said.
Yes, and not just exams, but also with any kind of performance or sports event.
Yes.
Anytime you have stage fright, say if you're performing. So just take 2 minutes to take a few deep breaths, and it'll help you, it'll calm you.
Right.
Especially once you've been practicing for a while.
Yes.
Because your mind is used to the practice.
Yes. And visualization, I think that's important, especially when you are doing an exam or doing a performance, to visualize that performance and how you've done well. And I know it helps many kids, as you say, they're great. They're very creative at visualizing. We'll come back and talk more about some of the tools to help us be more mindful when Parenting Made Easy continues.
Parenting Made Easy on 938 Live. Parenting Made Easy on 938 Live.
So focusing on our breath, focusing on sounds perhaps, taking some time off to exercise, taking a walk maybe, but stepping back from what we're doing that is maybe giving us the stress that we're feeling right now is a way to help us refocus our attention, and focusing on our breaths or particular sounds just for a few minutes, closing our eyes, could then, when we come back to what we're doing for kids, it could be a test tomorrow or your studies or a performance that's coming up. For us adults and parents, when we come back to a parenting situation or back to our work, we'll look at it differently, won't we?
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't have the time to really do a 5-minute or 10-minute practice, you can just close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. I guarantee it will help, depending on the situation, but it will help at least.
I'm sure it will. Like I said right at the start, whenever you get angry, someone will always come and tell you, or you read it in the books, take a deep breath.
Yes.
And when you're young, you don't really understand why. But as you get older, you really feel that, yes, if only we took a step back.
Yes.
And when we're with our kids and we're getting a little bit frustrated, and we're frustrated sometimes because we don't have time, as much time as we would like, as you, Muriel, with your kids, and you perhaps with your clients and with people that we really need to stop. Be mindful of what we're doing, be aware, make those conscious choices. Now, as Pampush was talking about the different ways and the different strategies we can use to refocus our attention and to bring ourselves back to the center, Muriel, you and your family have found a way to do it together.
Yes, indeed, yes. We actually are all Taekwondo practitioners.
Black belt, no less.
All of us black belt. As a matter of fact, Mikael is going for his second Dan, and I'm a third Dan. So all of them have done great in this area.
Wow. How has it helped you?
It has helped all of us, as a matter of fact. I'm obviously a woman, and I'm surrounded by men or boys, and we had to, it's difficult to find something that you can have in common and that you want to share, because I think that it's important as a parent as well that you have to share something that is outside homework or food or so it was great because we had the best of both worlds. We had the focusing on doing your patterns, on being able to do some fights. And in the same time, I trained with one of my boys when he went for events. I was there with him and I was helping him. And when they went for the black belt, I actually managed to help them. So it created something between us, or something that was different from being a mom. And in the same time, they're very focused, and they have also this extra energy that can be placed somewhere else than in the house, and so they can relax a little bit when they come home, and we can discuss about it. And I have a common point with my children.
Right. So this has become a family activity for all 5 of you. And have you found that learning Taekwondo has helped your children focus better?
It does, because you have so much to learn to become a black belt, and you have so much to remember to become a black belt. And you have also a conduct. You have to behave in a certain manner. You have to be respectful. You have to be focused on what you're doing and what you should be doing as well when you're in the dojang. So it's very important that you are aware of what you're doing. So this brings as well a focus for the boys and for myself, obviously, because when I'm over there, I'm only there. And when they're over there, it's the same for them. They can only be there because it's quite demanding as a sport. So yes, I think that brings us together, but as well it helps them to focus, and it's a manner for them to be mindful.
Is this a way for some families to go, Pampush? I mean, you said that there are many strategies that families can use.
Yes, certainly. I mean, anything that works is good, right? So you have to decide as a family what really works for you, and that's great. This sounds really wonderful to me.
Right. So again, many ways that parents and kids can, first of all, bond and find a way to work together and be a family. And as Pamposh did mention right at the beginning, we need to make those conscious choices to be mindful and aware on a daily basis. And all of this will help us make better decisions, and you said that right at the beginning. And in the case of Muriel's second son, who you had the opportunity to work with, for him it's about managing his emotions.
Yes, that, and as well focus as well, because all children need focus anyway, especially the kind of pressures they face these days at school and so on. This is something that he said to me himself, that he wants to manage his emotions better. And I'm quite amazed all the time by how articulate children can be about their own needs and how aware they actually are if we sit down and listen to them. Quite a few children have said this to me.
Actually, that's a good point. If only we had the time to sit down with them, then they will open up to us. And you both said this. If we make time for the children, they'll make time for us. And it's the other way around too that we want, right? We want them to make time for us. And so it's a two-way communication that we're looking out for.
Absolutely. And I always say this to parents, keep the lines of communications open. Even if your child is heading into those teenage years when sometimes they are not so communicative. But I think it's our job as adults in their life, significant adults, as parents, teachers, mentors, to keep those lines of communication open and say, I'm still there for you whenever you want to come and talk to me.
That's important.
It's very important.
Yes. And what do you have to say to parents who have teenagers, since you mentioned the magic word, who have teenagers at home who multitask all the time, and they don't multitask the way you do. They're doing sometimes 3 things or more at the same time. And I'm sure you've seen it with your children. They're on their laptops and they're on a chat, 2 chats, 3 chats. They've got music. They're also studying, doing homework and a project at the same time. What advice do you have for parents of kids like that? And there are many.
Yes, there are. My basic advice is to kind of improve communication. And for that, you have to understand your child, but you also have to understand the stage of development of the child. And the teenage years are years when most children will push the boundaries. So if you simply lecture them and just lay down rules, they may not respond very well. They may come back to you in later years, but during their teenage years, some of them won't respond very well. So one way is to encourage habits that you consider good. So instead of just fighting the bad habits, encourage them to be more focused in some other way, be more mindful, make it fun for them, engage them. You cannot be lecturing children all the time. They hear lectures from parents, from teachers, from adults throughout their lives. So find ways to reach out to them at whatever age they're at. So when I work with very young children, I know that they're very active. I cannot say sit still for 15 minutes now because I'm saying so. It's not going to happen. So you have to make it somehow important to the child so that the child wants to do it, engage them. Similarly with teenagers, appeal maybe more to their intellect because they're older now. Engage them in some discussion, ask them their views on something. Whatever it takes, find something that the child can relate to. And don't always be lecturing children because they're sick of being lectured.
Actually, lecture isn't the word they'd use. Nag is the other word. More popular word. And Muriel's nodding the whole way as you're speaking, and she's gone through exactly the same thing. You have 2 teenagers at home. www.teratai.com.sg is where you go to find out more about the work that Pamposh does. And Teratai is spelled TERATAI.com.sg. If you had just one final thing to say to parents today, what would that be, Muriel?
I think that you have to feel the love for your children, and your children will love you the same way that you love them. But you have to have time to show them the love, and I think that helps a lot in the family.
It does. Someone said to me once, love is spelled Time. Yeah? Pamposh.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And we have to make the time. We have to find the time. And I would add to that, model the behavior that you want to see in your children, because they do watch their parents and they do learn a lot from them. So if you are saying one thing and doing another, it may not have much impact. So model the behavior. If you want your child to be more mindful, to be more calm, you need to learn to be that way yourself.
And this weekend, we're going to spend a more mindful weekend with our children, be more aware of our family members around us, and take the time to stop and smell the roses and take a deep breath. And if you'd like more parenting tips, you can go to smartparents.sg. This is a MediaCorp initiative, and 938 Live is proud to be the official radio station for smartparents.sg. My guests today, Pamposh Da, who is founder of Teratai, and Muriel Valerie Guillaume, mother of 3 young boys, in the studio with me today. Thank you, ladies, for being with me.
Thank you very much.
You've been on Parenting Made Easy. I'm Susan Ng. Thanks for your company.
Parenting Made Easy on 938 Live.